13th of June, Rabbi Levitt, Gemora.
Just hazard over what we did so far. Get the cheshbon over here. Dealing with. The Gemara wants to know what's the reasoning of Rebbe Meir. Mishum de kasavar shinui b'makoma omed o dilma ba'alma shinui koine b'hacha konsahu de kokones. That's what the Gemara wants to know. So, what's the reasoning of Rebbe Meir? Because we see in the case of the para that he stole, that gave birth after he stole it, and the sheep that had shirins that he shore. According to Rebbe Meir, Rashi explains, Mishal Moso ve'es gizoseha kol ma shenotal mimeno u'ma sheheshbicha. Everything that he took from the person and everything
Is that me?
What?
No, it's not you, Roy, it's Phil.
No.
You hear noise here?
about
No,
Rebbe
no.
Meir.
Phil, is outlined when you hear the noise.
Oh, I'll go on mute, but I'm not hearing noise here, so I'll mute anyway.
Okay, good. So, this was where we were talking about over here. It's 12 lines down from the top of the page. The question was asked, what's the reasoning of Rebbe Meir? And we had two choices to explain his din, that he says everything that he stole and everything that the animal appreciated, he's got to give it all back. So he said, is it because Rebbe Meir holds that shinui b'makomo omed? That would explain why he's got to give everything back, including the shavak, the appreciation of the animal. Or does he hold that no, shinui is kona? Really, mina Torah, the gazlan is kona, the shavak. That the animal gave birth, or the animal has all the shearings that he sheared off. But the reason that he has to give it all back is because of the Chachamim gave him a knas. Rashi explained, Shelo yechot niskar, so that he as a sinner in doing the gezel should not profit at all by his gezel. So on that, the Gemara asked, "My nafkamina, what's the practical? What case would illustrate a distinction between these two understandings of Rebbe Meir?" And the Gemara said, "Lahecha the kachasha bikhash." In the event that the animal became what he stole, it weakened and it depreciated. In that case, we would see a difference in the din, depending upon the reasoning that we attribute to Rebbe Meir. Okay. So now the next step, the Gemora said, was we're going to now we're going to bring a toshma, which is going to prove that Rebbe Meir, what his reasoning really is. So what's the case of the Mishnah that the Gemara is bringing over here? Gazel behema behezkina avodim behizkino. If he stole an animal and it got old, or he stole an eved that it got old, the Mishnah says, Mishalem Kefi Shasak Zela. All he has to do is pay according to the value. He pays according to the value of what it was at the time that he stole it. So even though it's really now worth significantly less, he's got to pay for what he stole. And Rabbi Meir says, Rabbi Meir pipes up, and he seems to be differing with the Tanakama, and he says, when it comes to avodim, you could say Harei Shalcha Lefanecha. Now, then the implication was, says the Gemora, Ilu behema kashas agzela. So we would assume that if it was a behema, he wouldn't say that you could just give back the behema. It would seem that he'd have to pay according to what the behema was worth at the time of the gezel. Okay, so let's go to the Rashi right now. We were in the middle of reading the Rashi. Dibra Maskil Ba'avodim Amar Lo Harei Shalcha Lefanecha, which is after Konsa Konis and Nafkamina. So it's a little bit above the middle of the midpoint in the Rashi. Is on this page 95a. And Lou is reading the Rashi.
Okay, let's see if I have the right one. Avdin Omer Lo Harei Shelcha Lefanecha. Is that the right one?
Right. Very good. Everybody else has the place?
Mhm.
Okay.
Ba'aveda Kime Dami. A slave is similar to land. Vikarka Hadra Be'ena Ve'ina Negazlach Leknos Legazlan Beshinui Ule Hayos Bereshuso. Okay, so a slave is like land, and land. What is Hadra?
It returns to, goes back to the original owner.
Land returns to the original owner and cannot be stolen. To acquire, to be acquired by the thief with a chain. To be in his reshus, to be in his. So a slave, if he takes the slave into his reshus, if the thief takes the slave into his reshus, he doesn't acquire the slave. That's not considered to be a shinui because the slave is like land.
Okay, what's the shinu over here that we're talking about?
Moving him into his reshus.
No, that's not the shinu we're talking about. There is such a thing like that, the shinui reshus. But the shinu over here we're talking about in this Mishnah is that he stole a healthy, strong, robust slave, and now the slave is ready to go on pension.
Right, but what does it mean? The last three words, b'shinui ulios b'reshuso.
So Rashi is saying over here, karka hadra be'enov. which we had that word before. The karka is returned as is. In other words, even if the karka underwent a change, it became washed out. When the person kicked off the owner from the field and he tried to steal the field or whatever it is, and now a tidal wave came and ruined the land. The guy can the Goslin, so to speak, he could say, "Here's your land. Here's your land," and he says, "What do you mean? This is my land. This is not the land that you stole from me." He says, "Yeah, right, but it is your land." He can make a return like that. Karka hadra be'ena. The karka can be returned as it is. As it is, it can be returned. That constitutes a full return of the karka. Now, why is that? Is because the Goslin doesn't acquire the karka through a shinui. Eno nigzelis. The karka, there's a principle of karka. Karka cannot be stolen. Liknos legazlin b'shinui, to be acquired to the Goslin with a shinui. V'lios b'reshuso, such that it should be in the reshus, in the legal domain of the Goslin. Now, if it's not, why does Rashi say that to be lios b'reshuso? Because if the karka went over into the legal domain of the Goslin, because he acquired it with the shinui, because the karka underwent a shinui in its essence. So then then in that case, the original owner of the land could say, "Hey, Mr. Goslin, that karka is yours. You got it. You acquired it with the shinui, and therefore you have to pay me back for stealing the karka at the value that it originally was." But we say no, not at all. The Goslin can say, "Here's your karka. Here it is. I'm giving it back to you. I'm returning it to you, be'ena, just as it is right now. I'm making a valid return because that's your karka. It never went into my reshus, because karka cannot be stolen such that it can be acquired with a shinui. And therefore, since karka cannot be stolen, so therefore, by definition, there's no kinyan as a result of shinui to put it in the reshus of the Goslin. Okay, and that Rashi said in the first two words, Avda k'mekarkari dami. The Eved is going to have the same din as the karka. So therefore, the Goslin can steal a healthy, strong, robust Eved, and now he could return it as a pensioner and say, "Here, I am giving back your Eved, and here it is. Here he is. It's now returned to you. I fulfilled the mitzvah of Heshiv es hagzela asher gozal, and now I'm giving back your Eved." And he doesn't have to give him anything more than that.
What if it could be proved that he was that the person who stole the slave was responsible for the deterioration of the slave?
Okay, so that's an interesting point. The Brisa here is talking about where the Goslin didn't do anything to cause the depreciation of the animal or the slave. What would be the din if he did do something? Would we say in that case that the Goslin has acquired it with a shinui? So So the Mishnah is not talking about that case. The Mishnah is not talking about that case, but it could very well be that because of this principle that the Gemora has a principle. Karka eino nigzelis. Karka is not the type of an entity which could be stolen, because wherever the karka doesn't go anywhere. It's always there. It's always the Torah doesn't regard as karka being able to be stolen.
All right, so
What?
what about from another angle? If I take something from you, and it doesn't matter what it is, I take something from you and return it, but it's not. But due to my misuse of it, it's not as good as it was.
Oh, so the owner of the land could claim that the Goslin, even though he can't actually steal the property, but he could damage the property. If he damages the property,
Mhm.
so then the owner of the property could demand damages from this Goslin. That he could do,
Okay,
not on the basis of the fact that he stole it.
right, okay. Thank you.
Okay, so now that's the Rashi, and now let's go back to the Gemora. Let's read this section over here, what the Gemora is saying over here, because this is the Gemora's proof of what it is the view of Rebbe Meir is over here. The Gemara makes a inference over here. Ve'ilu behema. Alan, you want to read Ve'ilu behema?
Which page are we on? 95A?
A2. I don't know whether it is.
Which part? 95A2, right?
Yeah,
On the top of the page or no?
you know where it is.
No, it's not on the top of the page.
It's a little bit above. It looks like it's about 20 lines down from the top of the page. It's the first word in the line is Shelcha lefanecha.
We didn't do about dying it yet, right?
No. Here
Here it is, afilu behema. It's 95A2 on the right-hand column, and it's in the second paragraph, which begins with the Gemora rejects the proof, but it's in the middle of that paragraph.
Yeah, right now the Gemora is going to learn out the proof from this Mishnah. Ve'ilu behema. Kishas agzela.
Oh, no, that's not where I am. I'm at afilu behema nami. That's not where we are. That's not what you just read.
No, you know what? Maybe let's just read from the beginning of the Gemara over here. Iboy lehu my time of the Rebbe Meir, and we'll get there. It'll take us less time like that than to look for it.
Okay, so
That-
that's 95A2, left-hand column, second paragraph. The Gemora seeks.
To clarify?
Yeah,
Okay. Gemara seeks to clarify Rabbi Meir's opinion. Lahu, they inquired. My Tameh, the Rabbi Meir, what is Rabbi Meir's reason for ruling that the robber must return the calf and the shorn wool? Yishum the core sevar shinoi bima komo or made Is it because he holds that a stolen article that undergoes a change remains in its place, i.e. that a change does not affect acquisition. Dilma, Elmore, Shinoi, Konev, or perhaps generally, he holds that change does affect acquisition. Nor saw who the decay Cornice, but here it is a penalty that he imposes. Lemai Nafkor Minor. What is the practical difference between these two possibilities? The it is relevant to where the animal underwent a physical change and deteriorating.
Right. So in that case, where he guzzled something, let's say an animal, and the animal got old or weak or infirm. So if we would say that Rebbe Meir holds that that the Torah says that shinui is not kona, that the fact that the animal underwent a shinui, that will not be a kinyan. So then in this case also, where the animal got weak or infirm or old, that's also that will not result in a kinyan on behalf of the animal, and therefore he would be able, the Goslin, to return this animal and say, Hareshel Chalafanecha, here's your animal, and here it is, as it is, and he would absolve himself of any further obligation in regard to the theft of that animal, even though it was worth a lot more when he stole it. He doesn't need to pay him anymore. That is regarded as a full return of the stolen article to the owner. That's if that would be the case that Rebbe Meir holds that. Whereas if that's not what Rebbe Meir holds, we're trying to figure out what he holds. But this would be the case where we would see a difference in these two opinions. If Rebbe Meir would hold that Mikra Din, that the Torah says that Shinoi is not koina, but a Shinoi of shevach, of appreciation, the Rabbanan made a knas and penalized him so that he should not acquire it. But a shinoi like this, where the animal got weaker and less valuable, we would say that they didn't make such a gezerah over there. They would leave it on the level of the what the Torah mandates, and therefore, in that case, we would say that that he would have to pay according to Shasa Gzela. He would have to pay according to Shasa Gzela. Whenever you say he's got to pay according to Shasa Gzela, you're basically saying he acquired what it is that he stole, and he's got to pay back, and whatever much it is, more or less, and then he just pays back in dumim the value of what he stole. So that's where the Gemora said that there would be a nafkamina in the case where the animal got less valuable. Okay, so now we got to go further in the reading, and now we're going to read this Mishnah, and then we're going to see what the Gemara is going to have to say about Rebbe Meir, what he says in this Mishnah. So now we go to Roy to read for us.
Tashema, come and learn a resolution from the following Mishnah. Gozel, Behemo, Vehiskino. If one stole an animal and it aged,
Yeah.
Avadim, Vehiskino, or slaves, and they aged.
Yeah.
Shalem, Bishaish, Hagazela. He pays their value. He pays their value as at the time of the robbery. Rab Meir Omer, Ba'avadim Omer Lo Hare Shelcha Lifanecha. With respect to slaves, the robber may say to the original owner, behold, what is yours is before you. Ve'ilu behemo bish'ais hagazela. Now Reb Meir disputes the Tanakama's ruling only with respect to the slaves, implying that with respect to a stolen animal that aged, however, he agrees with the Tanakama that the robber acquires it and pays its value as of the time of the robbery. The Sha'at HaGazela, time of the robbery. The Im Salka, the Itoch, Sava, Rabbi Meir, Shinoi, Bimkomo, Omed. And if it should enter your mind to say that Reb Meir holds that a change remains in its place, afilu behemo gam nami, then even at the case of an animal as well, the robber should be able to return the animal in its present depreciated state and say, behold, what is yours before you. Elu lav shema mina. Rather, do you not learn from this that Kosova Rabbi Meir Shinoi Kone? Rather, that you not learn from this that Reb Meir holds that a change does affect acquisition. V'hoka kanasa hu reka kanim. And his ruling here that the robber must return the offspring and the shorn wool is simply a penalty that Reb Meir imposes where the changed article has appreciated.
Right. Good. So Gemora's come out with a proof over here that Rabbi Meir holds in this case where the animal gave birth or it got more wool, so he benefited from the appreciated value of the animal. So really, that according to Torah law, according to Reb Meir, that he would be able to keep that because that's a shinui, and he, as the Goslin, would get that shinui. He would receive that, even though he's a Goslin. But Reb Meir says he's got to give it all back because the Rabbanan came along and took that away from the Goslin and penalized him and required him to give back the appreciated value that it appreciated after he stole it. Okay. Now let's see what the Gemora says over here. Gemora's not finished. Is there any Rashi for Phil? Phil is. There's some Rashi for Phil here, no?
We did all these Rashis before because this is where we were up to.
I think the next Rashi is, I think the next Rashi is right down the bottom. Dime Tamura.
Yeah, we need to. The value is wool.
Okay, so Phil, let's would you like to read the Gemara then? Read the Amrei.
Let me see where we are. Where are we starting in the Gemara? I want to see in the real Gemara. I don't want to see in the. I don't want to see the art scroll. The art scroll is one thing. It's
Yeah,
Okay.
there are different notes in the art scrolls you might like to read. I don't
Here
know.
in the regular Gemara, it's the first word on the line is kanis, and then it says Amri. It's about 22 lines down.
Okay, Omri. Okay, Omri. So they said Rabbi Meir L'Divrei goes according to his words. The Rabbanan to the Rabbanan, Kamar says Lahen L'Dei. They go according to them. A shinui ein kon ein kona. If there's a change, it doesn't make you don't acquire the change. If you lose behema, even with an animal, nami also. Ella the dechar, but according to your words there, the amrito that is said shinu kone, that shinui does make a change, is an acquisition.
Phil, can't hear
Yeah.
you. Or is that
Can't
just me?
I'm not muted.
I can hear him fine.
I'm not muted. Sorry.
Oh, it's me. Sorry. All right.
We're up to the shinui's kona. Should the change does make an acquisition?
Now I can.
Odo, he agrees with that. Miha, but however, avda, but with a slave, did karka dami, that's considered like land. The karka ain't a gazella. You can't steal land. They said, the Rabbanan said, lo, yeah, the Rabbanan said no. Avda is kamataltale dami. Okay, so that's the decision. They're saying, oh, wait a second. According to Rabbanan, they don't feel like slaves are like land. They feel slaves are like chattel, property.
Okay, so what we have to do over here is figure out what the Gemara is accomplishing with this with this Amrei over here. Because before we got to this Amrei, we seem to have a proof of what Rebbe Meir holds. We said that Rebbe Meir, it must be that Rebbe Meir holds that when it comes to animals, it's not the same as avodim, and by animals, the din would be that he'd have to pay kashasa gzela, because the shinui is in fact kona midaraisa according to Rebbe Meir. It's just that and he makes a knas. He makes a knas when it comes to appreciated stolen article, that he's got to give it all back. But generally, he holds that if it would go down in value, he would be able to the Gazan be able to give it back and say Harei Shalcha. No, I'm getting all mixed up. This is quite a confusing Gemara over here. Quite a confusing Gemara. Okay. What do we do over here? Let's start from the beginning again. Not from the beginning, but the beginning of my. Let's just go like this. Let's go like this. What we have to understand over here. The Gemara is not simply relating information over here. The Gemara in this Amrei is destroying the answer that we just gave. How do you like that? The question is, where do you see that? Where do you see that that this Amre is destroying the answer that we just gave, the proof that we just gave? So I was trying to point out, they got mixed up, what was the proof that the Gemora adduced from the Mishnah to the opinion of Rebbe Meir over here? What was the proof? So what the Gemora did is it said, we'll try it again over here, because we got to understand what it is that the Gemora proved, and then we can understand how the Gemora is destroying the proof in the next step. The Gemora proved when it said, Ilu behema, keshas agzela, the Gemora was saying this, that Rebbe Meir holds that when it comes to the slave, he could give it back and say, here it is. That implies that he agreed to the Tanakama, that when it comes to animal, he would not be able to do that. He would have to pay keshas agzela. And if the animal that he stole was a nice zaftik gesund animal, and so if it got weak and infirm after that, well, he would have to pay for the animal that he stole, keshas agzela. That's what the Gemara wants to prove from the fact that Rebbe Meir said in regard to the slave, he could say Haresh Chala Fanecha. That implies that he agrees to the Tanakama that you'd have to pay keshas agzela for the animal, and on that, the Gemara concluded. So Shma Mina, that Rebbe Meir holds that really the Torah says that Shinui is koina. The Torah says that Shinui is koina, and that's why when he steals an animal and it gets weak, he's got to pay for the value that it was at the time of the gzela. And therefore, in this case that we're discussing over here, when the animal gave birth, or the animal, he got shearings from the animal, so there was appreciation. But Rebbe Meir says he's got to give it all back. He's got to give it all back. Why? Because in spite of the fact that the Torah says that he acquired it with the shinui, he's got to give it back because the Rabbanan made a knas on him. Okay, that's the way we came out. That's the way we explain the view of Rebbe Meir. Now the Gemora in this next step is refuting that. How is the Gemora refuting this? The Gemora is putting a different twist on the statement of Rebbe Meir, not the same way that we understood Rebbe Meir just a moment ago. And the Gemara starts off like this: Rebbe Meir ledivreihem derabanan ka'amru lahu. Rebbe Meir, in saying what he is saying what he's saying, not so much to say what he holds, but to say to respond to what the Rabbanan said. And he means to say as this. He means to say like this: L'didi, according to me, shinui ein koine, afilu behema nami. As far as I'm concerned, says Reb Meir, shinui does not result in any acquisition whatsoever. Min haTorah. There's no kinyan, and he doesn't own the calf. He doesn't own the shearings. Afilu behema nami. Also by behema that is so. And he could say hareshal chala fanecha when it gets weak. Not like we said just a minute ago. Not like the Gemara inferred from the statement of Rebbe Meir a minute ago. No. We're doing a 180-degree turnaround over here. So then what was he saying then, Rebbe Meir? What was he saying to the Chachamim? He was saying them like this: Eladidhub, according to you, Chachamim, the Imrisu Shinui Koina, you hold that Shinui is Koina. because you say that in both cases, the behema and also the avodim, you have to pay kishasa gzela. That means that shinui is koine. So you stole a good strong animal. It got weak. You acquired that animal with that shinui that it made, and now you got to pay for the animal that you stole at the time that it was worth it when you stole it. So this that you hold that in regard to animals, oduli mihas ba'avda, you should at least, nevertheless, even though you disagree with me about the animal, but you should at least agree to me in regard to the slave. Why should you agree to me in the case of the slave? Because Rebbe Meir is say of the opinion that by the slave, it's the case is controlled by a different halachic rule. The kamakarkari dummy. Ukamakari and karka ain't an exelis. You should agree to me with the legal comparison between Eved and karka, and you should agree that just like karka is not able to be stolen, so too an Eved is not able to be stolen. And for that reason, you can return the weakened slave who's on pension now and say, "Here's your slave." That's what Rebbe Meir is saying. But in regard to the behema, he disagrees with the Chachamim over there. He disagrees, not like we originally said. He holds that shinui is not koine, not like the Rabbanan. But he was just telling them. He's saying, but at least, even though we disagree about the behema, you should at least agree to me in regard to the into the slave, because there we're not arguing. It's not our argument that we have between us about whether shinui is kona. You hold shinui is kona. I hold shinui is not kona. But that's not the controlling principle when it comes to an eved. When it comes to an eved, the principle is that eved is hukash lakarka. There's a legal comparison between eved and karka, and therefore, just like karka is not nixelis, so too the eved is not capable of being stolen. It doesn't matter whether he undergoes a shinui. So even according to you, that you hold the eved undergoes a shinui and shinui is kana, but there it doesn't matter. It doesn't depend on that. It depends on the legal comparison to karka, and karka can't be stolen. So therefore, an eved can't be stolen. So therefore, he should be able to return the eved as is, even though it's in a weakened state. And on that, the Chachamim say, Amar le Rabbanan, nothing doing. We don't agree with you on that also. We disagree with you on 2 points, Rebbe Meir. Lo, Avda Kemakarkari, Avda Kematatali Dami, rather. The Rabbanan say that no, we don't hold that drasha like you do, Rebbe Meir. We don't hold that hekesh. We don't say an eved is hukash lakarka. We say an eved is regarded like metaltalin. He's regarded like metaltalin. And therefore, he's like any other article that could be stolen. And therefore, the principles of shinui kona do apply to an eved. And so therefore, the eved will have the same rule as the behema. You would be able to say, according to the Chachamim, Harei shelcha lefanecha. Okay, 2 minutes late. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Take care.
Okay.
Hey, all the best, everybody.
Have a Levitt.
Have a good day.